United States businesses eyeing the United Kingdom as the place to invest. Martin Cook, Director of UK Trade and Investment USA, joins me now. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Rhonda.
Well, you've just completed some data points for the past year, which was a record year for foreign direct investment projects in the UK, and the US in particular has really kind of embraced this. What is happening that has brought so much US investment now to the UK?
I think there's something about the culture of the UK, and Americans are very confident with the country, with the language. But I think it's the environment this government's created, which is really open for business. I was told that last summer on the West Coast by one of the big production companies, that was the reason they made the choice to go to the UK. And then you look at things like just the general environment. Our labour laws are very similar to US laws, unlike some of the rest of Europe. And our tax rates are also pretty attractive at 20%. So that makes a whole package that Americans really like.
Is the currency exchange rate an issue?
I don't see that as such, because typically if you're setting up in the UK, you've got costs and revenue in the same place. And those things will fluctuate, but they hedge for those things as well.
So what types of US companies are setting up shop now in the UK?
It's across the whole spectrum. I think the growth we've seen over the last year particularly is around the software space. And if I think of what's going on in London right now, 5 years ago, venture capital investment into firms in London was £100 million. It was nothing. Last year was £1.5 billion. In the first quarter of this year, it's £670 million. So we're seeing an ever-increasing trajectory of companies investing in the UK and growing their technology spaces in the UK.
Such as Microsoft Ventures, right?
So Microsoft have set up in the UK as well. We've seen the likes of Pfizer setting up there in the life science space and working with 18 UK universities to develop some rare disease solutions. We've seen IBM investing in the northwest of England. We've seen Cray investing in Bristol on the west side of England, bringing their European headquarters for supercomputers to the UK. And along the way, getting a multi-million-dollar contract with the UK Meteorological Office, which will help the UK to really understand much more about weather issues for us going forward.
So who do you feel like you compete against? Is it the rest of Europe, or is it a whole different region?
I think it depends what the company are doing. For many things, it's the rest of Europe. For some of the major R&D investments where they're really looking at our university base, that could be with Japan, it could be with China, it could be with wherever the expertise really sits. If I think of something like graphene, which was an invention of the University of Manchester, again, you start to see that people want to access the raw talent and the raw knowledge that exists there.
So put some numbers around the growth that you've seen.
So globally this year, we've seen a 12% growth in the number of investment projects coming into the UK. That's at a time when across the world, those numbers are falling. So in a falling market, we are gaining size. For the US, that's a similar number. We've gone up by about 12% in the US. The biggest growth, I say, in software and technology, about 50%, and also in financial technology, about 50%.
What are some of the stumbling blocks perhaps somebody must face if they decide to invest in the UK? There's a lot of ease, I guess, which you talked about early on, but is there any sort of culture shock or any other issue that these companies perhaps don't expect when they get there?
And there is, and that's why we exist, because our role in UK trade and investment is to help make that transition as easy and painless as possible. In the same way as a Brit coming here has seen lots of New York on the TV and feels very familiar with it, people have seen lots of London and Britain on the TV. It's not all Downton Abbey, I have to say. But there are some different rules, some different laws. They're similar, but not quite the same. Some of the regulations will be different and similar, but not quite the same. So our role is to try and interpret those things and help American companies to make the best choices to where they locate, so they get the best possible business for them.
Martin Cook, great to have you here. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I'm Rhonda Schaffler for The Street.